Alright guys, welcome back to the final section of this video series on the AEQX covered hopper. We're going to jump right into this project. Where we left off last, I had just finished up most of the car body work and I started doing the graffiti. At this point the cars had about a week to dry and I let it sit, like I said, because I really like to be able to take the time to let the oils dry. You don't want to handle them very quickly because you can smear them, leave fingerprints on them. They really do take a little bit of time to dry up. So I let them set up and we're good to go on the car body. After I did that, dull coated the whole thing and we're ready to get right back into the project. So let's get started. Now since we've let this dry pretty well at this point, I'm going to go ahead and finish the graffiti on the car. There are two tags, one on this bay and then on this one here. I'm going to show you how to do one. In this particular case, you can do this with acrylic paint and a fine tip brush, but I'm going to be using a Jelly Roll paint pen. It's like a gel ink pen basically, and these are really great for doing small little tags. All you got to do is basically line up according to where the tag is on the prototype. Got all your little details and you can just draw them on like this. It's very simple to do and it's very effective. As you can see, that only took a second, but just like that. There we go. Alright, so this car has had a couple days to dry up and seal up. I went ahead and sprayed everything again with dull coat to seal up that oil work that we've done. And since the last video clip, I've added the DOT safety stripes. Nothing crazy, nothing special there. That's added according to the prototype photos. And then I added a little bit of grain spillage up at the top, as you can see. And this is modeled just with a little bit of ginger, ground ginger, believe it or not. And it's a great way to replicate grain spillage. I'll have a separate video coming out on how to model this. It's just basically an application of white glue and then you sprinkle it on there where you need it to replicate the grain. So we're well on our way with this project and we're ready to do some last minute touches before we add the placards to the sides of the... Okay, now on to the grain streaking. Their prototype has some streaking coming down in this section of the car, and I'm doing this based on the photos. I'm going to be using some Winsor & Newton water mixable oils again for this. You can of course use the acrylic white. But in this case I'm using the oils because they blend a little bit easier, which I found is quite a benefit if you're doing this. The acrylics again are nice, but they don't blend as well, and I really want to be able to blend these a little bit more since the prototype has them pretty well streaked out. So I'm using my Citadel, or excuse me, not my Citadel, my Atlas number 155. Again, brand new fine tip here. You can see it's nice and sharp. Okay, so I'm just taking this, going over to my paper. I have a little bit of this paint in the corner here, and I'm just going to pick up just a little bit of that paint like this, and I'm just going to go ahead and load my bristles up like this. Okay, so coming back over to the side, if we get comfortable in our position here, we'll zoom back over the data and we're going to start at the top. So I just basically like to go in and start painting these streaks. They don't have to be perfect. Remember, we're going to be blending these. But they do have to be somewhat defined here. As long as they're relatively straight, that's what matters. I want to have the defined streaks here. So I'm just painting the lines one at a time, like this. Now I'm going to blend this with a soft bristle brush by brushing it down just like this and softening it out just a little bit. Alright, so the grain spillage is now completed. I got the washes down the sides very gently. And then I also did them on the opposite side, again very softly, very, very minor. It's very subtle on this car, so I didn't go overboard. You'll also notice that I reinstalled the placards now. They're ready to go, and now this car really has an identity. It looks really nice. It's almost a shame that we got to weather them, but it looks really good at this point. You can see that. It all really stands out. So the next process here will be the painstaking task of carefully weathering the placards themselves on both sides. It's going to be all brush techniques. I'm basically going to have to model some of the paint chipping first, fade it down quite a bit, and then start doing the rust effects. So I'm going to get started on that. Alright, so here's the placard starting off. The next step, we'll go ahead and start doing a light white wash to fade it down. Here's the placard with the white fading applied, and it's just done with a brush and a very thick layer of the wash. I let it dry thoroughly, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next step, which will be to start doing some of the rust on the white lettering. We need to basically dull that down and make it look a little bit more rusty, so I'm going to be using some burnt umber acrylic to do that. Alright, so the magic of editing, I've gotten these placards completed within about 2 hours. and we'll zoom in here to see what they look like. They're pretty good matches to the prototype. You can see I got the scruffy looking paint, the blue chipping away through the black. The black's nicely faded down, the lettering is starting to rust away, the grain, wheat, grain logo is starting to peel a little bit and fade away. Got all that rust starting on the corners, and then we got all the little rust pits and everything else on the prototype site here. It looks really good. I'm really happy with that. If we turn to this side, oops, we have the same thing. You can see this a little bit different. I used another picture of another one on a different car to get this pattern. I wanted them to obviously look different, and I think it turned out pretty good. So that's the placards pretty much taken care of. We can go ahead and start working on the next step, which will be powder application. Alright, I'm not going to focus too much on the powder weathering. You guys have seen me do this enough times at this point on certain models, but in this particular case, what I'm really worried about on this covered hopper is taking care of the trucks, couplers, and some details on the bays in particular. A little bit of work on the kick-up spray on the ends to define the streak lines a little bit, but other than that, it's very simple. I'm going to brush over this very quickly to wrap this video up here, but my colors I prefer to use are chalky white, and I'm using light rust as well for certain enhanced little details. The main color we're going to be using is weathering powder. This weathering powder by Monroe Models Dark Earth. Okay, this color is really good for modeling that flat, dusty grime color that you see on these wheels. And I'm going to be applying it using a large Citadel brush dedicated to just powder work. This one is specifically dedicated for powder and chalk work. I don't use it for anything else. And then I'm going to be using a smaller brush like this to apply some of the more detail weathering, like say on the springs and all the small little details, the couplers, things like that. I basically take my powders in every situation, gather a little bit in the cap, and I use my brush and very carefully just pick up a little bit at a time. Remember that these darker colors, especially the bright rust colors, are very concentrated. You only need a little bit at a time. Remember that. That's very important. Okay? So I just like to come in here and I'll just start on the truck. I'll kind of angle the truck in so I can start at the top, and I'll just start applying that powder like this, streaking it down. Vice versa on the base of the truck, I like to kind of streak it up a little bit, kind of where that kick-up's going to be from the wheels. It's going to be spraying up like this onto that truck frame. I'll then come back in with my finer brush, and this is where it helps to do this detail work. With the whiter colors like this white powder, I'm aiming more for the base of the truck where you're going to get, again, a lot of that grime and stuff. If a little bit gets on the wheels, that's fine. What we can do is work that in a little bit like this and blend it back in. Just like that. It kind of adds to the overall realism of the wheels anyway. They usually get this dusty color too, so that's pretty sweet. Just to mix things up a little bit, I'm actually going in here now with a fine tip brush. Again, this is an older brush I retired and pretty much use only for the chalk and powder work, and I'm going in and adding a little bit of that light rust just onto the springs where a lot of that fresher rust gathers. And then check this out. This is an important thing that a lot of people will miss on these wheels. You see, they already look fine now, but where rust also gathers on these wheels is at the top of the bearing caps, along that little top portion. And what I like to do is brush in a little bit of that powder right above these bearings like this. Very simple, okay? And then we can even add a little bit of discoloration here and there. Now, after we've done that, we need to blend everything back together. So, what I'm going to do is, again, take my Citadel brush, and I'm going to blend everything back together. This is going to diffuse everything, blend all of our colors together, make everything a little bit more diffused. But as you can see, it gives that illusion of all the individual little parts and how they weather differently on the wheels, and that's why I particularly like that effect. So I'm going to repeat that for all the other wheels and truck frames on this car, and I'm also going to repeat this for, of course, the couplers as well, and that'll pretty much finish up this model. Okay guys, here is the car. Now completed and ready to go. Important to note here, after I edited that last clip, I did the trucks on the opposite side, finished those, finished the bays, and then the couplers, and did some minor powder work on areas like the placards, and then the little board for the little tack board here in the corner. Areas like that I did a little bit of powder work too, but not very much. There is some powder work done on the roof as well, where that grain spillages, we'll show that in a second, but as you can see, the car is completed. I did not dull coat anything either after I applied the chalks. I never apply dull coat over my chalks and powders because it just basically erases them and you never even see them, so there's no point. So that's all done, and as you can see, the car is now finished. It's looking really nice. I'm really happy with the work. You can see the nice rust detail work we've done here. We have the DOT safety striping added, we have the prototypical patching, and then the really nicely done Anderson's billboard here with the heavy weathering. We got the custom patching done, and again all of that really nice underbody detail, as you can see. And then the hatch top details, roof walk details, ends, everything just looks spectacular on this model. Here's a really nice look at that billboard here on this side, and then the AEQX patching with that number that we did, and all that nice detail work as well. All the nice rust streaking, and then we got the grain streaking down the side as well, all nicely plastered on the sides there, looking really good. Here's a great look at our roof details here with our nicely weathered hatches, locking bars on the tops, the separate rust work we've done on the roof walks. All that looks really nice, and then there's the nice touch with that grain spillage. It all looks really good on the top there. Alright guys, and just for fun, here is the prototype again, as you can see. And here's my model of the car above. So there's the prototype, model, prototype, model. Matter of fact, there you go. Pretty cool, huh? Okay guys, so that'll wrap up this video series on the AEQX covered hopper. I'm very pleased with this project. I hope you guys liked it. I will have another covered hopper weathering video coming up very shortly here, maybe in the next couple weeks or so. I got some tip trick videos coming up, and of course an update video as well in the pipeline. So you guys can stay tuned for that. Subscribe here on YouTube for more content. Follow my work on my Facebook page and Instagram. My Facebook page is Dan's Custom Trains, and Dan Arnold is my name. You can follow me on Instagram, Danny Dankinson. That is all lowercase. You guys can follow my work there. I'm always posting pictures and videos of some stuff that I'm working on, so you guys can follow me there. And again, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy.